Welcome to Learning Life Skills Together. This is our weekly community Zoom meeting where our guests help us to go deeper into the 4 life skills and open up a huge array of chances to practice them. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Zoom meeting number 42 with Kathryn Metzker of the Stroud Water Research Center. So Kathryn is with us and has brought us some nature as a way of helping us to settle ourselves for our conversation here. So Kathryn, take it
Good
away.
morning. Thank you so much for having me. So we're going to listen to a couple of different sounds of different locations from around the world. You'll hear forest sounds, you'll hear water sounds. So take a moment, close your eyes if you'd like to, and think about what do these sounds make me think of? What do I see? What feelings does it bring up? Are there any particular memories associated as we listen to these different places? Well, thank you for sharing in this time with me. So, Don, what did that bring up for you? What did you think about?
So there were a number of scenes going on there. I just want to say that overall, hearing those kinds of sounds really did sort of bring me down to a different level because I rushed to to be in place to get this started. So yeah, so I settled out. The bird song, at first was, that was deep woods bird song. That wasn't like backyard or, open field kind of bird song, which came later. The brighter bird song there, I feel like was probably someplace with lots of bushes and the birds were flying all over the place. And then I wasn't sure whether I was listening to a small creek or rain on a tent or something. And wow. Then flowing water, which is so wonderful to listen to. And and then I wasn't sure whether it was an ocean scene or a storm. Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
think we had a little bit of both even.
yeah. And so just the bird song and the water sounds, just really, really helpful in calming down. That seems to be what it does for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's
Yeah.
what we'll-
I sit on my screened-in back porch every morning for my coffee, and I just listen to the birds, and we've been trying to attract more and more, and it gets pretty loud. So, but it really does feel pretty good, in your body, in your heart to do that. So yeah, so you are an education specialist for Stroud, and you're educating about not just the water itself, but the watershed. The place where all the waters flow. We listen to rain, maybe. And so where does it go? And how does that happen? And so you've got the whole of the out of doors because that's the definition there. So how did you get into having a job where where you get to have the whole out of doors as what you do?
Absolutely. And I think starting with these nature sounds is a great intro for me because I do think that my experiences growing up, whether it was going camping with my family, in high school, taking science classes that had me do nature journaling, sit outside, write about what you're experiencing. What are you seeing? What are you noticing? What are you observing? What are you feeling about those things?
Mm,
These are easy activities that you can do with young people that really impacted me. How can I do this more often? How can I be in this space as much as possible? And the more you're noticing about a place, the more you're interested in it. Questions come up and wanting to learn more, and take care of it and protect the environment. So I studied environmental science and chose jobs that would take me to interesting places to do conservation. So projects that would help either restore, improve, take care of environmental spaces, and educate as well. Since for me, being a very socially oriented person, I think that all of this joy of appreciating nature can and should be shared with
mm,
others.
yeah, yeah,
It's a space where you can be alone and enjoy just some quiet time, right? Even just that just minute and a half of nature, right? You were saying already made you feel a little bit more grounded,
yeah.
a little bit more present, right? You're just focusing on what's around you, and that has huge benefits, solo, but also in groups.
Yeah, so that's part of your thinking, I guess, and part of kind of what you do and how you design education or deliver education is really with those things in mind. So could you talk a little bit about the science reality behind that? Sort of what's happening for us, with us when we're in nature?
Absolutely. When we have student groups at the Stroud Center, we actually come at this from a scientific perspective, observation, using your different senses. So, what are you smelling? What are you hearing? What are you seeing? The ideas of environmental psychology that's, not what I do on a daily basis, but impacts all of our daily
Hmm.
interactions with nature
Yeah.
have impacts like getting your circadian rhythms back in order, especially folks who end up either working odd hours or in situations where you're not spending as much time outside. A little bit of time outside can really change your sense of time, slow things down a little bit for you, recalibrate your brain to be following more natural rhythms. So
Mm,
whether that's based on the light that's outside, um, working in a garden, right? There's a certain amount that you can put into that work. You can be planting, you can be weeding, you can be caring for those seeds, watering. But at some point you have to slow down and just wait. There's parts of it that you cannot rush. And so
mm,
there is a lot of research that talks about that impact on our own speed and
yeah.
processes.
Yeah, that feels really important. That idea of, well, not everything is racing as fast as we are. That there are, those processes that are part of us, how we live as human beings or as part of the natural world. Sometimes I even
Right.
wonder if we see ourselves, as part of the natural world and
Right. And
just
think about when you're
yeah.
experiencing stress. it doesn't have to be that you're necessarily feeling like you're moving quickly, but your body's response to stress is a faster heartbeat, higher blood pressure. You are having, these different hormonal responses. And so, whether it's just you had an argument, you had a hard day at work, you're feeling overly tired, moments in nature, even short ones on a walk home, can make a really big difference. And one of the things that we focus on at the Stroud Center is talking about nearby nature. So these sounds are beautiful,
Mm.
right? We were in a rainforest, we were in at the beach, right, with these big ocean sounds. And for a lot of us, that's not what we hear in our daily life. We hear cars, we hear honking, there's all of these human sounds. And to your point, we can feel a little bit separated from nature. But finding those birds that are passing by your house, hearing just a little bit of wind in the trees at the end of your block,
Yeah.
all of that is still nature and has space for us to connect with that and still reap all of those benefits as we would in the deep woods.
Yeah, yeah. And so, we basically heard water and birds. And so those sounds do stand out even when there's traffic noise, even when there's other stuff going on like that. There's always around here there's house finches and house sparrows and that kind of stuff. I mean, I always think about, you go to Lowe's or Home Depot or something, and there are all these birds nesting inside the store, you know.
Right, right,
You can
absolutely.
watch the whole life cycle of certain species of birds just by going to Home Depot. It's really kind of interesting and kind of fun that we did. Nature does not get blocked out as anywhere near as much as we think it does.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, we are so lucky here in southeastern Pennsylvania that there is a stream or river or creek about every stone's throw. So, and you may
Yeah.
not always see them, but if you start noticing, paying attention, right? Looking up at the roof as you're walking into Lowe's, noticing where these pieces of nature are, you'll notice more and more. And you're able to get to those spaces. You're allowed to walk up to the stream bank and just sit there for a moment and listen to the water hitting the rocks. I get to do that. I'm very lucky as a part of my
Yes.
job.
Yes, it's
But
your job. That's awesome.
right, right,
But
but it's
yeah.
nearby for everybody. And so taking
Yeah.
that moment to go there on your own with your kids, with your family, having kids play in that space together, that also can give you a break, right? You're in a safe location, making sure that, you're knowing what you're doing. Don't touch poison ivy. Be careful
Yeah.
around the water, right? You need to
Yeah.
take certain safety um, ideas in mind, but can be a great space to actually get to relax and not think too hard. That on average can be a lot safer than just playing in a neighborhood where you have to watch out for cars or yeah, broken glass on the road or things like that.
Yeah. And so, learning life skills together really suggests heartily that people get outside with their kids. And I th- I suspect that getting outside with the kids means first figuring out where to go. And that's kind of an adult practice to go and look for the places that are going to bring the kinds of benefits that we're talking about and the kinds of opportunities that we're talking about and check it out first before loading the kids up and taking them out, right? So where are some places that sort of stand out in your mind since you've seen a lot and
I
experienced a lot? Yeah.
Yeah, I think about different parks that are readily available, whether that's a larger public park, if you're in closer to Westchester, Shaw's Bridge is a lovely little open park. People often bring their dogs there. And that would be a larger township park. You may also we have a lot of preserves in our area. Natural Land
Yeah.
Trust is a major provider of natural spaces, whether that's over in Unionville and that's Cheslin, or um, as far north as Phoenixville. They've got beautiful parks up there. And I'm even thinking of small community parks. In Avondale, there's just a small park that goes right up to a river, right? I bring up these parks because most of the parks in our area will have a stream going through it, which gives you
Hmm.
more variety of what you can see.
Yeah.
Hopefully some trees and shrubs. When we were listening to those sounds you brought up, picturing the different plants that are there, that's really key for us at the Stroud Center, both because of the science and, hey, these plants are really crucial to the health of these ecosystems. We need more plants rather than either just cut grass or
Yeah.
concrete. But as far as enjoying with families, that offers you more to see, more to engage with. Do you do a fun little activity like having your kids collect different leaves or pine cones or whatever they can find and make a little art project out of it, or build a little house? Um, that many of these local parks that you can walk to from your house are right in town. Kennett Square has a big park just on the northern side, the Anson B. Nixon Park. They're all around us, and so getting to be able to have access to those is really, really important.
Yeah, so I mean, it seems like they're public parks, so access is pretty good, and the next layer of the access is maybe for the parents to go and take a look,
Yeah,
see.
absolutely. Right. You can even find these on Google Maps. Open up your map and look at what are the little green spaces. If I go to a new place, I'll often just start there. What are the little places
Hmm.
that are shaded in green? Click on it, see what it says about it. Often that's a little park, but you may not even realized that there's a cute little small park, even if it's just got a little soccer field that's at the back of your neighborhood. Look around, and then yeah, go check it out. Go see if it's a good
Yeah,
place to be able to take kids. You know, can you walk
yeah,
there? Could you park there? Or is there public transportation to get there?
right. So taking the initiative to find a space that looks good for your kids, for your family, for what, the kinds of things that you might like to do. I mean, sometimes the kids are really running around types. And so there's kind of like, do we have the space to do that that looks good? Other kids are, the investigators and might, want to go back along a pathway somewhere and be quiet and look and see what they see, So I'm thinking of those kinds of things, and of course, the water draws us, doesn't it? So so any thoughts, guidance for parents in terms of streams, ponds, those kinds of things, and how to how to make
Yeah.
use of it safely, that kind of deal.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the first thing I'll say is absolutely, I'm working with a lot of kids through my life. I think it can be when you're at those points where you're either not sure what to do or if things are a little tough. What I love about nature is that it does have something for every kid. And so often, even in education, we're trying to tell kids to either slow down or sit down, or if they're the really quiet kids, talk up, speak up,
Yeah,
engage more. And that is a good thing to learn in general, to be able to be in different states as a kid. But for the most part, it can be really helpful to just lean into it. If your kid is super energetic, great. Go to a field, run circles around it. My
yes.
grandma used to just have me run around the house. If I was getting too enthusiastic, she's like, "All right, Kathryn, 4 laps, off you go." And I loved it. And you'd see different
Yeah,
things, and my sister, who's super quiet, she would just kind of want to go sit out under the trees and you know be in her imaginary world, and loved that. And so instead of feeling like you have to fight where your kids are at, or if it's not working with the dynamic inside the house at the time, nature's a great space for people to be in different mental spaces, physical spaces, while all being together. So in terms of streams and water, obviously it's a space that you need to be careful, but I think a lot of people are a lot more nervous about it than they need to be. Something if you're walking up to a stream to take a look at. First thing, how fast does it look like the water's flowing? Is it going quickly? How deep does it look? Sometimes we can see the bottom of a stream. It depends on how clear it is. Sometimes we can't. If I could not see the bottom of the stream, but it looks like it could be deep or it could be moving a little bit quickly, then I'm focusing on playing on the banks, right? I'm focusing on staying up on
Mm,
land, looking at the water, hearing the water, but maybe not going in. But a lot of the streams in our areas are pretty accessible. You could walk pretty safely in there. A good rule of thumb is keep the water below your knees, right? If it's above your knees, then it could tip you over, basically. So if your kids want to
yeah,
play, find a place that it's just running over their feet. There's plenty of areas that if it's deeper here, walk 10, 15, 20 feet up or downstream, and you may find a shallower spot. So these are really great places that kids could get in, wade around, have that tactile experience, feel the water on your feet, pick up a couple of stones. And just consider also what the banks look like. This also kind of ties to the environmental side of things, but some of our banks are very steep and hard to get in. You just
yeah,
need to take caution as you're doing that, but it's definitely not impossible. And I think it's more important to, while being safe, don't be overly cautious. Don't not go there because it's an unknown. Take a
right.
second, like you were saying, maybe just as the parents first, take a moment and see what it looks like. Can you assess that this could be a safe place to be? And I think even involving the kids in that situation is really important. It's good to check it out ahead of time, but explore it with your kids. Talk to them about, okay, how do I assess if this is a safe place to be? What do you think? Do you think you could get in here safely? Do you think you could get back out by yourself? Because at some point, absolutely, kids are going to be in a position where they're going to have access to something like this on their own, and they need to be able to
Yeah,
tell, is this a good place to be? And by wrapping that into the fun, you're letting them have some agency, some control. And as a kid, that's a really hard thing to get. And so being able to learn to trust themselves, can I make these decisions, is a great activity to do as a family. And look, all you did was just go to a new place and look at it. So far, we haven't even done any of the fun stuff. And it can be
right.
so fun for kids to start learning how to judge if a place is safe, how to interact in it. So
Yeah, yeah,
simple things about interacting with a stream. Using your senses too. Does it smell really bad? Maybe don't go in the water if it does, right? Basic
really.
things that we can enjoy it by looking rather than being in it.
Yeah. And so, this idea of checking it out, making sure it's safe, and actually having the kids learn that, I think is really profound in itself, as you were saying, and really sets them up to be people who are more likely to take advantage of nature than to maybe stay home and sit in front of their screens. And so what we're sort of saying in learning life skills together is that those are skills also, they may not be one of the four skills that we're teaching, but those are valuable skills. Being in nature, I think of as the attention skill par excellence. I mean, it is when we're in nature and trying to tune into it and successfully maybe tuning into it, that we are really just there. We are in that moment with whatever's happening, and we come out of ourselves a little bit. This is one of the, for me, one of the big values. I'm a fisherman, and so when I go out and I cast a fly and I watch it drift, there is nothing else going on going on in my mind. It is like the clearest moment that I have. And when I pick up a bird in my peripheral vision and then turn and look, and see if I can see what it's doing. And not even necessarily who it is, although, I try to know as many of the birds in my area as I can. It's really, what is it doing? What's going on there? And again, I'm drawn out of myself. I'm not so much self-involved, and I just feel like that's a really big value that being in nature brings to our kids, and particularly our tweens and teens who too get, really deeply involved in screens and in their own self. And to have
Yeah.
a break, and to have a break like this, I think is really valuable.
Right. It's useful in the like in the moment, whether that's by having fun, whether that's getting the break, whether that's, helping your brain relax so that then if you're working on a problem, you can come back and approach it with new
Yeah,
eyes. But I
yeah,
think also in terms of giving kids a coping mechanism for the future, practicing being still, being present, observation, that's going to help them when they're stressed out about homework, when they're having problems with friends, bringing back a lot of that negative energy to the house. That's par for the course in middle and high school, right? That's just
right,
going to
yeah,
happen. And frankly, it's common in our adult lives too, right? We as older people experience that all the time. You had a bad interaction with a coworker or, you know, bad interaction with someone on the street, being able to separate yourself from that just a little bit. Know that you're feeling that, but that doesn't have to consume you. I think that's something that you can learn by being in nature and both can be that release, whether you actually have a chance to go there or just taking what you've learned by being in nature into the rest of your life. You can use that at any time and can give you those moments of respite of mental freedom wherever you are.
yeah. So, so I wanna see if we can be specific. I don't know. We haven't explored this idea. But I'm wondering, in your work as an educator, if there are things that you help the kids do or guide them to do that really seem to be, um, I don't know, successful, stunning, helpful, that it would be possible for a parent to do with kid as well. Some certain activities that really seem to, for parents who might be like, I'm really sure what to, here we are. We're by the stream, the woods are right over there. What do I choose to do? What could happen here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a couple possibilities. You could go in the art direction, whether that's you could bring some paper and a pencil and let kids draw what they're seeing. They could take pieces of nature and not even on a piece of paper, just on the ground, create a collage, make a picture of something. Doesn't have to even have to be a nature thing. If they're interested in making a scene with, whatever sort of comic book characters or, superheroes that they like thinking about, make that out of the nature items that you find, that physical experience, tactile experience. Don't be afraid of getting muddy. We can always wash our hands later. I think that could be really hard for some parents and even for some kids at
Yeah,
first. Like, well, but like, oh, it's dirty. So get a little dirty. There's always soap we can clean up later. And that experience of engaging physically, hands-on is huge. It's both really fun, it's engaging, and this is where kids are going to learn. They're not just looking, they're actually experiencing it. So something art related like that. I also am a big fan of having kids build different things. Now, this isn't necessarily what we do at the Stroud Center, right? This is what
oh,
I
okay.
do in other nature settings, right? Because what
Yeah,
we do there tends to be a little bit more scientific focused. But in terms of nature appreciation, even at the Stroud Center, we might have kids do the journaling or the nature art side of what are you seeing? Can you write down? You have 1 minute, whether that's a real minute or not, depending on how old your kids
right,
are.
yeah.
Write down 50 questions about what you're seeing around you. Oh, I don't know anymore. I asked two questions. I don't come up with more. Anything. Any questions you have, right? Developing that curiosity, the awareness. It is going to help them academically in school. It's going to help them in their personal lives. It's going to help them socially with friends. So, and it's something that you as a parent don't necessarily have to do a lot, right? We do a lot as parents. And sometimes you need things that are going to be a little more self-guided. And that's really important for kids too. We can't be holding their hand and showing them every step every single time. So a lot of these
Right.
activities are specifically set up that you're there, you can participate, but the kids are running the show. They're running the cognitive exploration that they're doing. So how how tall could you build this tower with sticks? What kind of house could you imagine think about what are some things that they like, right? Does your child like stuffed animals? Okay, don't bring the stuffed animal into nature, but build a house for your stuffed animal or, build the city that your superheroes are going to save or something like that. Again, it's engaging physically with nature while doing things that they might do with Legos or something else, except that there's such a breadth of material that their brains have to think differently about engineering and how
Hmm.
are these different materials going to go together? Or could I use pine needles to make a softer floor for them? Something like that. It's just going to give you so many more avenues for creativity, which is really key again
Yeah.
in all different aspects of your life. And all of these, while being really fun and something to do with the family, are also things that you can do that are going to affect their life academically, which is
Oh,
all really
yeah.
important to be working on that stuff at home. Um, a couple other ideas that come to mind. Bring a storybook or a chapter book if your kids are older. Bring a book and read in nature. And if you can find one that's about nature, even better. Go to your local library and say, hey, I'm looking for books about rivers. They can give you so many. This stuff is really available now. And bring that and read and then see what that brings up for your kids. Maybe in the story that they went on an adventure along the stream, and you can go have that same adventure. You don't even have to come up with those ideas. Some of this is already out there for you. And
Yeah.
one other would be a scavenger hunt. You don't have to know a lot about it, but if you find a couple of things, okay, now go find something that is dark green. Now go find something that is spiky. Now go find something that is from a bush or from a tree. It could get really academic if you want it to, specific species or um,
Hmm.
how the roots grow. And it could also just be really simple, tactile or color, visual, so that it's just giving them the next thing to look for. I find that
Yeah.
especially helpful. There are a lot of parks that have hiking trails or walking trails, and it can be hard to get at the first few times they go, it might be hard to get kids engaged in that. It's like, why am I still walking? And if they have just something to be paying attention to look at, you might really like that walk. And so giving them just something to keep their brains engaged as they go along will help them like that too. And then it'll just become more muscle memory and you guys can all go hiking together. And that's a really fun, easy,
Yeah.
and healthy activity to do in nature too.
Yeah. So it's turning on the curiosity. What can we do that turns on the curiosity and the imagination? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And these are fun and I think that it's more appreciated now than ever in the past, I think, but I think some people can not think as highly of creativity, like, oh, that's silly or oh, that's dumb. And I think kids especially can fall into that trap. Oh, that's little kid stuff. And
Yeah.
showing them if you're excited about it as an adult, they will be excited about it. And there's so much that shows that creativity and curiosity are going to make your kids smarter and more successful in every aspect of their life. And who wouldn't want
Absolutely.
that for your kids? So,
Yeah.
yeah, be a little silly, be a little kid-like. It's also going to be really big in your bonding with your family, building
Yeah.
that relationship. If you can be a little silly together, a little creative together, it can make a big difference in how much Your kids are comfortable talking to you. We have this shared experience now in a space that is set up for it, right? Nature holds that for us and can lead to a stronger relationship and better interactions within your family too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, you know, the idea of curiosity is one that really um, I see as central to the learning life skills thing, because what we're looking for are ways of, you know, working with our emotions, ways of getting through tough times. These are skills, and curiosity helps us so much with those. First of all, just discovering things can be really helpful. We discover things about ourselves, we discover things about others, we discover things about our environment, and it's possible to change things. And so to know that, I think, is really profound. But the other thing that really strikes me is that when we are being curious, we are not being anxious. That we really can't be both of those things. So
Or
if we
other,
can,
yeah, heavy emotions, right?
yeah,
If
yeah,
you're not sure about what's going on, but you're maybe feeling angry about it, before being angry about it, be curious about it. Ask a
yeah,
few more questions, because often you'll find maybe the situation isn't what you thought it
yeah,
was. And
yeah,
so that's one of the reasons I love that question activity where you try, have your kids try to ask as many questions as they can in a short amount of time. Start building those pathways in your brain that the first thing you should do is ask questions before making
yeah,
judgments or making decisions.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, when we turn our attention towards the thing that we're grappling with, instead of towards what's happening with us. That's really helpful. So yeah. So nature, I don't know. It just, as you were saying, it sort of holds things for us, and I think one of the things that it holds is that sense of curiosity. There's a mystery there anyway. How are all these things here? What is going on? There's so much happening, and so we have to, sort of look around and see.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Changes how
even
we.
just how we, if especially if maybe you haven't spent a lot of time out in nature, doing regular things outdoors for a little bit, just to have that exposure time. Let's go have a picnic, right? Who doesn't love food? This is
Yeah,
going to bring people together. It's going to be fun. Something you were going to do anyway. You don't need a lot of extra time. Take whatever meal you were going to have and bring it outside. And so to your point, that'll give you a chance. Maybe you're not convinced yet. Maybe you're not as excited about sitting around observing nature. Great. So don't do that. Have a picnic, enjoy your food, enjoy your time, and that will come naturally. You and your
yeah,
kids will start observing and experiencing. You'll see a hawk fly by and you'll be like, "Whoa, what was that?" So just having more time will already make it easier, more fun, and more comfortable. Again, especially if you're a little bit nervous about spending time outside, not really sure what that looks like or if that's safe. Doing something simple and short like that to just get that comfort time. Particularly, that is something that we'll do at the Stroud Center if we have groups of kids come who don't necessarily spend a lot of time in nature, maybe are from a more urban area, and just do a couple of activities, just being out in nature. We're not even talking about nature yet, but getting comfortable in the space.
yeah, yeah. That's really um that idea that nature is acting on us even when we're not necessarily directly engaging, I think is really cool. Uh,
Absolutely.
I like to think of nature as, something that is shaping us, something that is helping us all the time, even when we're inside, frankly. I do think that. So, well, it's been wonderful talking with you about all this. I think we've got some good info out there for the parents, sort of how to shape things, and maybe it's um, take a look, parents, first yourselves to find a spot, and then take the kids and look deeper. I think that was one of the things that we were talking about is go around. What do you think of this? Could we go there? Can you could we get up and down this bank on this creek? Yeah, that kind of thing. And then to let that natural curiosity just go loose. And I think we call it natural curiosity, not because it comes naturally, but because it comes through nature, right? Make a little dad joke there.
I love it.
And so, yeah. So I think it's probably good to go out on a dad joke that natural curiosity is really what this is all about and what you sort of have brought to us. So thank you so much, Kathryn.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
This has been wonderful, and I heartily recommend that folks get outside, especially right now. I mean, we're coming into fall. Fabulous time. Have fun, y'all.